All right, here we are to talk about Taylor Swift. I don't have a title for this series yet. I don't have like game planning for like the long term. I'm really just living in the moment, which is the best thing to do whenever you put one of these albums in your CD player or your cassette tape or your earbuds with your Spotify or Apple Music, whatever streaming platform is giving you more money at the time than other streaming platforms, and you have to write a letter about it. But yes, I have with me the lovely Susanna, the wonderful Mareena, and I'm David, and we are going to talk about Taylor Swift, what she means to us, what her music has meant to us throughout the years, and then kind of just talk about how we feel about her albums. And then the last thing we'll talk about is like the future, just do a little crystal ball gazing. So it'll be really fun. And I've known both of you for various lengths of time, and I'll let you guys introduce yourselves because I think that's always best to let somebody kind of tell you how they view themselves, right? So we understand who you are. And Susanna, I'll let you go first. I've known you the shortest amount of time, but when did you first become a Swiftie?
Okay, well, you guys are welcome to call me Suz if you want. Um, but I guess I became a Swiftie at the end of the Red era, like when I was like, okay, I'm on this boat. But I like was drawn to her music before then, and I would just kind of like listen and like, but not like say that I'm in the boat yet, but just like I don't know. I would turn her music up on the radio. I'd watch her music videos. But when I became like a full out Swiftie was like towards the end of the Red era. So 1989 was the first album that I like went to Target on the day that it came out and was like 100,000% into and like listened to it over and over and over again. So that's like when I guess I would say I became a Swiftie. I guess like 2013, the end there, and yeah. So I guess that's what I would say.
Yeah,
But like
that's
my
really cool.
yeah.
Was it like how many people were at Target for her music? Do you remember?
I remember going in and I had made a friend. I was a cashier at a local grocery store and I had made a friend there who was my age and we were both Swifties. Like that's what brought us together. And we both texted each other that we went to Target at different times that day. Anyway, I remember going in there and there just not being that many left. But there wasn't I didn't see anyone like grab it while I was there, but I just remember there weren't that many left.
Cool.
So
Cool. Okay. So, and is that like your first like memory, or is there like an earlier memory where you're like, oh wow, I like this song? Or
there's definitely earlier memories. Like, so my sister, who I shared a room with, would listen to Taylor Swift. Like when I was in relationships with other guys, and Will, I mean, but like some of her earlier songs, like really connected to some of the things that I went through. So I feel like I kind of like grew up with her, sort
yeah,
of, so to say. And so they really just kind of like drew me. I don't know, like I remember being drawn to like White Horse and You Belong With Me, but just because basically You Belong With Me was just catchy and I
hmm.
just like was drawn to it. But and then like her music videos, she looks so pretty, so I would just like watch them over and over again.
It's
She has
interesting
that
that
gift.
yeah, it's interesting that you've been a fan for like a full on fan for like the five of her most successful. Like
Yeah.
I guess five of the six. Fearless, I think, is her most commercially successful. But 1989,
I
if
guess it's
you,
probably been around the longest. So.
yeah, there's a reason she released it first. I listened to a whole like 10 episode podcast about this. But anyways, it's interesting that you kind of started as a fan right when 1989, like you were on board then. So
Yeah.
I think that'll be interesting to talk about later when we kind of like rank them and like what they
Yeah.
meant to us at certain times. So Mareena, how about you? When did you first decide like I'm on this boat, as Susanna
Yeah,
said?
I think there's a couple. So obviously, well, we grew up more conservative and we
I
weren't.
did too.
Yeah, like I just remember we like weren't really supposed to. We're like a lot
Right.
into a lot of music, and so I remember I listened to a lot of the radio, and so I Teardrops on My Guitar dropped, and I was obsessed with that song. Like I would listen to it all the time, and it was on the radio a lot, so that was easy. And then I just remember, weirdly enough, I had like a little green camera, and The Best Day came on the radio like one time. It was in the back of some TV show or something. And I literally have, it's just like a black video where I had recorded just like as much of that song as I could. And I don't even know that I knew that it was Taylor Swift at the time. I just knew that I loved that song with all my heart. And I would listen to it on my stupid little camera with a black video, like over and over and over again. And it would just like make me want to cry every time. I loved it so much. And so like, that's one of my first memories of like realizing that that was like a Taylor song. And I was really like, I really loved it. And I think in some ways I kind of miss like the Speak Now era, which is sad because it's like one of my favorite albums. Like I remember a couple songs from it being on the radio, but again, like I wasn't really supposed to listen to music like in that era. So
Yeah.
I didn't buy music. I only listened to what was on the radio. And then when I was in college, my two best friends and I went on a road trip. And it was like a short road trip to Georgia, like during the day. Like we left after chapel one day at Bob Jones and like got back before curfew that night. But it was the day that Red released.
Oh, wow.
Had gone to Target and gotten it, and then we had driven to Covington, Georgia, and we listened to Red the whole way, and we listened to Red the whole way back, and I was obsessed. Like I knew at that moment, and like Katie and Katie had been fans and had actually gotten to go to, I think, a Speak Now concert, and so they had told me about it. And that's when I think I really like resonated and was like, oh, I love this girl. And like I have those earlier memories to like solidify the fact that I loved her music even before I like knew who she was and like really connected with her.
Yeah.
But it was definitely the first one. And then every time after that, I mean, like when 1989 released, like somehow Katie figured out that it had released on Groove Shark early.
What?
And so we were listening like the night before to like I Know Places, and oh, I just was enamored with like her songs, her style, just like everything about her process and how she did things. And so yeah, I would say, I mean, officially it was Red era that I became a fan too, but I definitely have memories from like Fearless and before that.
That Best Day story is amazing.
It is.
I have never heard you tell that before, and it is incredible.
Because it's such a weird thing.
No.
But I like when I heard it, when I like actually was listening to her music on like Spotify, and I was like, this is a song. Like this is a song I recorded on my camera and listened to over and over and over and just like loved the crap out of the song.
Oh, so, I love that story so much because that is such a like, because of when we were all born, like we've witnessed technology just kind of, I mean, they say technology has really grown in the last 50 years, but like I can remember
so much in the last like 10 years.
Yeah. And even 15, like we're, 15 years ago, we're all in our teenage years and our cell phones are just buttons, like, you have a 30-second ringtone and that's your music on your phone. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, like when I first had my cell phone, I bought 200 texts per month and I knew meant 6 a day. And if my friend, that counted friends texting me and me texting friends. So if a friend tried to text me a double message, I was calling them.
For you to have a camera with your hand over the lens so that you're not filming anybody accidentally, but you're recording the audio. Like that's a perfect story. I love that so much. I don't even want to tell my story now. Like,
come on, tell your story.
So when I first got my driver's license, this was the first time I was out on my own. And I had access to the radio. I had a small radio in my bed that I would listen to baseball on, but I never thought to listen to like music.
Like a little underground club of like, okay, then listen to music. Here's our
But I remember that at the auto parts store, there was a sticker on the counter that said 106.5 The Wolf. And so I turned the dial to 106.5 The Wolf, which is a famous Kansas City country station. And at one point in time, right after I first started driving, like I can remember all the first country songs I ever heard, like Diamond Rio. There's a song by them that's like the very first country song that I was ever like, wow, I love this song. But I can remember the DJ coming on and being like, we got a brand new song for you from a lovely young lady named Taylor Swift. her new single called Tim McGraw right now on 106.5 The Wolf. And it comes in and it's just like, I was just like, whoa, this song, because there's this thing about me where if you have a song that has a place in it, like a city or a state, for some reason I automatically love it and I'll listen to it all the time. And she says Georgia. And then the bridge in that song with the letter that you'll never read, and she left it on your doorstep, and you're just like, and I was just like, I didn't know it then how much I loved stories, like as much as I know now about like how stories are important to me and how storytelling, but her storytelling really just like grabbed a hold of me. And I have to honestly say that is when I became a Swiftie, because I've been listening to her ever since. I was talking to people. I would tell girls like, hey, have you heard this song? And they would be like, you listen to her? And I would be like, I mean, it's an amazing song. Like, I don't feel like it's wrong for me to listen to an amazing song. But yeah, I would say that's like my first, I remember like talking about Teardrops on My Guitar. And then the other one that I remember is like, I remember getting a hold of Mary's song. And when you're 87 and I'm 89, or when I'm 87, you're 89, like the way that song, like, it's from Debut, which a lot of people dump on these days. And I'm sure we'll get into that in the next section, which is probably a good segue. But like that song just, it's like so perfect. It's like, yeah, this is an amazing story. Once again, an amazing story. So yeah, I would have to say ever since I first heard Tim McGraw on the radio, I've just been like on board. Like I've been rowing the boat basically.
Look at you. See, you're like the OG.
Well, we're all wearing our merch from different eras, and we don't even have, this is like literally the first piece of merch I've ever bought was the Folklore sweatshirt, because I was like, because Folklore, I'll get into it. Folklore is amazing in its own right. But all right, so this next section, we're just going to talk about the 9 albums, what they mean to us. We're going to rank them. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. We're going to find out along the way.
I don't know that it's hard to rank, because it's like each era hits you different at different times in life. And like sometimes the era happened to match where exactly you were. So there's something about it.
You're stealing my thunder here.
Well, I mean, like I'm looking at Speak Now over your shoulder, and I'm thinking about how much we love the song Long Live. How like even just thinking about it makes me want to tear up because it's so good.
Mareena.
At the Reputation tour.
Oh, you got to hear it? Oh yeah.
It brought me to actual tears. And
Mareena,
I'm a person.
Imagine this. Me and my sister karaoke at my parents' house the week before she gets married, singing Long Live. And my mom sobbing at all the dragons that we fought together as Bethany and I are singing. Okay. Like, so I know that I didn't want to do that to you, but you made me.
We've had so many discussions over the best album. I feel like you and I have discussed best album so many times, and I feel like every time I come up with a different answer.
Well, I wanted to start with my best through 9 and then go to Suz, and then we'll finish with you, because you've kind of spoiled a little bit for me what you've got in store.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm excited to hear yours last, so I think it'll be a good contrast with what me and Suz, because Suz is she's asked me like 3 times to rank the albums, and finally I had a break from work and I was like, okay, and I wasn't really paying attention, so I had to look at that list and refine it again. So,
I'm interested to see your guys' list, because I already told you my methodology.
Yeah.
It's a very simple methodology.
I guess I'm going to go 9 to 1, so that you guys do not have to go 9 to 1. I'm going to go 9 to 1. I know that sets a precedent. We'll see how it goes. And
9 being the least best.
No, yeah, least favorite.
Okay.
I have to
wait,
couch
the one that you resonated with the least.
The one that I listened to the least.
Okay, that's fair.
And that is Reputation.
Big Reputation. Big Reputation.
I listened to it today, and I was skipping a lot of songs, but mostly because I was in a really bad headspace at work, and so I like didn't need like the loud machine of Reputation in my ears. But hey, Kitty, it is.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it wouldn't be a Taylor Swift discussion without a cat.
That's true. I've got mine here somewhere. Oh, he's watching his food bowl. Don't worry. He's really upset about the fact that his food will drop in 30 minutes.
Oh dear. So Reputation would be the one that I listened to the least. And like Mareena said a minute ago, the album did not speak to my time of life or where I was when it first came out and I heard it. I love the idea she's exploring. And honestly, when Look What You Made Me Do music video dropped, I was all in. I can remember dissecting it with Mareena
We
hardcore.
talked about that one deep.
Yeah, I mean, we even went to lunch and talked about it. So,
Oh my gosh.
but when I go back and listen to it, a lot of my songs are not necessarily like my personal favorites. So that's why it's my number 9. Number 8 would be Debut, Taylor Swift. Number 7 would be Lover. Number 6 would be 1989. Number 5 would be Fearless. Number 4 is Folklore. Number 3 is Evermore. Number 2 is Red. And that leaves number 1 as obviously Speak Now over my shoulder here. And I don't need to defend all of them. I could go on and on, but I think we'd be here for 4 hours. So
I am actually very surprised to hear you rank 1989 as
6th. Yeah. So
because we've talked many times, but I do think that you've said in the past, and I'm remembering this, it's the commercial best, even if it wasn't maybe your personal best.
I think it is the most broadly accessible of her albums, as far as you could hand 1989 to anyone and they would find something they would enjoy, and the rest of the album would play into that idea. So they would end up enjoying the whole CD. That is why I put it lower, just because if I'm picking Taylor Swift songs to listen to, I have like 5 from that album that I love, but then the rest of them are like, I'm not going to go pick that song to listen to. Whereas Folklore and Evermore, Fearless and Red, and then Speak Now. I have a whole 3 paragraphs here about Speak Now. I'll try to keep it short. But first of all, I have it number 1 for me because she wrote all the songs herself, all of them. She might have had collaborators as far as editing and mixing and mastering, but Taylor wrote these songs, and it like I love good writing, and Taylor wrote these songs. And then all of the songs are amazing. Like, I'm going to list my favorites from this album. Okay. Back to December, Dear John, Story of Us, Enchanted, Innocent, Last Kiss, Mean, Never Grow Up, Haunted, Long Live. That's basically the entire CD. And that doesn't even include If This Was a Movie, which is a bonus deluxe song. So somehow Speak Now came out like at the perfect moment in my life, in my growing up, and the experiences I was having in high school and college. And it's still, when I listen to it, puts me in those times. I can't really explain it. And I guess what I'm trying to say is Speak Now, what can I say that hasn't been said? It's just, for me, it is her number 1 album. And that's the biggest reason is like all of them capture, like Enchanted is like,
we know it's
a rock ballad.
So good.
A rock ballad from a country singer. Like, if you've ever seen a tour video of Enchanted with the bell.
I will say Speak Now was definitely her crossover album, right? Like,
Red was too. So
I mean, but like, I feel like Speak Now really kind of, that's where she probably started very much playing much more on the pop stations than on the country stations. I don't think I classify Speak Now as a country album.
Right.
I would classify Speak Now as a pop album, where I think you definitely could have put Fearless as a country album.
Also, Last Kiss walked so that All Too Well could run. I'm sorry. The All Too Well is trending right now on Twitter as we record this. It is. Because people think it's coming out tomorrow. Last Kiss, infinitely better, is already 6 minutes long. I mean, what more could you ask for? Like,
I would just say, like, Taylor Swift has such a great way of using her language to put you into a moment, to like feel it. Like, I've never thought about the idea of like realizing later the last time you kissed someone was the last time that you would kiss them. Like, I've never thought about that, but I have now.
And I need to correct myself. I meant Haunted was the rock ballad. Enchanted is like, everybody's had that moment where you see someone across the room, and whether you introduce yourself to them or not, you're like, I know exactly what that's like. Like, whether you know that or not. Haunted is the one I was thinking of as a lot. And then Long Live. I mean, I've already shared my Long Live story, and Long Live has been there for me so many times. So I've talked enough. I want to hear from Suz. I want to hear 9 through 1, and then we'll hear Mareena's after Suz talks.
I'm going to say a disclaimer here. I just noticed like all these kids on TikTok, they were using like Taylor Swift talking about her albums to rank her albums. So that all those videos started trending like on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Like, so that's why I kept seeing them over and over again, because I have an algorithm that shows me Taylor Swift stuff all day.
Oh, my whole algorithm is all Taylor. Every single video, it'll be something
Every single one.
I don't.
And it's like, Mareena, you want to see this? I'm like, you're right, I did.
I don't send stuff to Mareena anymore because I assume she sees it. That's how much Taylor Swift is in mine and how many I've sent her. I'm finally like, I don't need to send this to Mareena. She's probably seen it.
I get that. So anyway, I just kept seeing this ranking that people kept ranking her albums, and I was like, I want to do that. but I wanted to like do that, but like have a discussion about it.
Yeah.
And like, I also want to say like, how can you rank them? Of course, like, and like Taylor, if you ever watch this video, like, it doesn't mean that we don't like
exactly.
It just,
God bless you, Suz, for like hoping that Taylor Swift watches our video. I hope that she understands the love that we pour into this. And it's not what's bad, but understanding why every album is so great.
Absolutely. Okay, that being said, I think I'm gonna go from number 1 to number 9, and then I guess I'll defend number 9, then go back to number 1.
Perfect.
So my number 1 is 1989. I've already kind of talked about how important that one was for me. And then the second one that I have is Folklore. Just because I listened to the whole thing over and over and over again, like no skips. And then my third is Reputation. My fourth is Red. Fifth is Fearless. Her re-recording like kind of like changed my ranking, because I wasn't a Swiftie until like I wasn't on the boat until the end of the Red era. So I didn't get to experience what it was like to go to the store and buy Fearless and listen to it for the first time. So I feel like I kind of like had a little bit of that experience when she re-recorded it. So anyway, number 5 is Fearless. Number 6 is Speak Now. Number 7 is Evermore. Don't hate me. I didn't love it as much as Folklore. I still loved it, but I did find myself skipping through it a lot more than Folklore. But it doesn't mean I didn't listen to all the songs. But anyway, and then number 8 is the debut one. And then number 9 is Lover.
This is Lover erasure.
Teams call flashbacks here for Mareena.
Because it holds up, okay? But no, give us your argument for number 9.
Okay. When I listen to Lover, to me it doesn't sound very cohesive, I guess. And she's just like kind of like all over the place, and I do find myself skipping through it a lot. I don't know if maybe that era getting cut short like changes how I like changes the ranking, because like during my Reputation opinion grew during Reputation, because she like kept coming out with like new songs, and so that made me want to listen to it more. And she like was on tour all the time, and that made me want to listen to it more. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, because I might enjoy Lover more, but I still love it.
We know. I will not attack anyone here in this place.
To me, if a Lover had come out when I was dating, then I might like it more. But it came out like after I had been married, and like our relationship was different. Like, you know, it was actually more mature. And so I don't know, Lover for me is like a very much like we just met and like love at first sight type album.
So the first time I listened to Lover, I was in my bed at midnight with my headphones in, listening to the whole album, because that's how you should always listen to a Taylor Swift. And I will say, like, I forgot that you existed, just filled me with the sense of like joy for Taylor. Like, I was so excited for her, because Reputation in so many ways, like, even though like by the end of the Reputation era, you could tell she was like over it, she like worked through a lot of things, it was still like kind of an intense, like this, like she was fighting back at this idea that people had put of her and her reputation in the media. And so like for Lover to start with I Forgot That You Existed was just like so refreshing to me. I felt like, oh my goodness. And so then I could listen to the rest of them in a way that was like, I'm so glad that she's in this better place. And then I just feel like the one thing that Taylor's so good at is at isolating emotions. Like she's writing multiple songs about like the same relationship and like picking that one point in the relationship where she was like upset or where she was like really happy or where she was like feeling really inspired or doing this. And so like I can get what you're saying about like it not feeling cohesive because maybe it's not the most cohesive, but she's like, again, just like picking out these little emotions and saying like, this is what it's like to be in a relationship, is to feel all these different things in maybe the space of an hour.
I totally
that's my fight for Lover.
Yeah.
I can definitely understand it not speaking to someone in the same way.
I have to say, I have listened to the BBC Lounge version of London Boy maybe 200 times because
her live versions, especially
oh my gosh,
like Reputation and Lover era, her voice is just so much more mature and like so pleasing to listen to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Suz, do you have anything else to say about Lover, or do you have anything else to say about 1989? Because it's definitely your number one for a reason. I know you talked about it a little, but
so 1989, I don't know. I feel like I was just like in that time with Taylor. Like I was young and single and I had like a ton of friends. I traveled a lot. Like I even like cut my hair short and like, I don't know. I just felt like I was in it with her and it was so fun. And I don't know. I mean, I just can't say it any better than that. Like, that's why it's my number one. And like, when I listen to it again, like, I think you said it best when you were talking about Speak Now. Whenever I listen to it again, I've heard one of my friends said this, and I don't know if he's quoting someone else, but he said that a song is like a time portal and it takes you back to where you first listened to it or a memory. It just takes you back. And so whenever I listen to 1989, it just takes me back to that time. And
my favorite song off the album?
Yes. My favorite song is Style.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's like it's my phone ringtone to this day. Yeah, and then I love Out of the Woods. Like all the different sounds in that song are just, every time I listen to it, it's just like there's a different sound.
you want to talk about driving at midnight and put on Style and turn it up a little bit?
Oh my gosh, yes.
I choose I Know Places if I'm doing that.
Oh, okay.
That to me, that song gets me off of the album.
And like You're in Love, that song.
So beautiful.
It sounds like a rom-com. Like if you're watching a rom-com in the 90s, like Meg Ryan, Tom Hanks, like it sounds like that song.
Yep.
I don't know.
So very true.
I love it. I love it. Okay, Mareena, I know your list is a little, you got some interesting, so Susanna's list changed from when she sent it to me. So I'm a little upset. No, I'm just kidding.
Really?
I think it changed a little bit. I think you had Speak Now at like 2.
Oh, really?
When we talked last, yeah.
Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up. I wrote them down before the meeting, so yeah.
Well, Mareena, you've told me your reasoning for how you're going to rank these, so I'm interested to hear you. So whether you're going to go 1 to 9, 9 to 1, go ahead and get us started.
Okay, so mine is easy because I am making the argument that every Taylor Swift album is better than the last Taylor Swift album, and she's on this upward trajectory. And like, I get it. We all will relate to different albums at different times. And there are times that maybe I'm in a Speak Now era, or I might be in a Reputation era. But in general, Taylor Swift keeps raising her own bar. Like in her documentary, Miss Americana, where she says, I guess I'll just write a better album. I guess I just have to write a better album. Like Taylor Swift is constantly writing a better album. And so I would rank my number 9 as the debut album and go up from there. So it'd be Fearless, Speak Now, Red, 1989, then Reputation, Lover, Folklore, and then Evermore. And I will say this, the two that I have listened to at midnight in a car are Reputation and Evermore. And those, like, I cannot recommend that journey enough. Finding a friend that will get in the car with you at midnight on debut night and just drive around for an hour and a half, just like listening to it and just seeing what hits you. Because I remember listening to Evermore, and when Nobody No Crime came on, I was like, she did something. She's really doing something here. And like Ivy and Cowboy Like Me immediately got me. They were so good. And I will say, like, for me, Evermore is no skips. Like, I don't skip a single one. I love every single one of them. Like, the lyrical genius that she's got going on in like Champagne Problems and Tolerate It are so good. Like the callbacks in Coney Island to previous songs and previous relationships is insane. And like, then she went ahead and released two amazing songs, Right Where You Left Me and It's Time to Go, which are amazing songs that, like, I have been trying to make a decision before and listen to both of those songs, and it's like, I know now what decision I need to make. I feel like there's such like two sides of the same coin, like talking about like how you feel like if you choose to stay somewhere, that feeling that you feel. And like sometimes it's the right thing and sometimes it's the wrong thing. And then that idea of like, okay, like I know when it's time for me to do something else. When it's time to go. Like that's when you know it's time to go. And so I have really enjoyed the Folklore Evermore like sister album season. As David can attest, in the past year, Spotify has told me that I'm in her top 1% of listeners. And I have listened to over 15 straight days of Taylor Swift, which to me seems kind of low. It's not counting because I listened to her CD in my car. But like there was a time period when every morning I would tell my Google Home, hey, good morning. And it would immediately just turn on Folklore for me because that's how I started every day. Oh. And then now I start every day with Evermore. So she doesn't miss and she just keeps continually getting better. So that's my argument for best albums.
Okay, if you've been enjoying these banners that have been around the whole video, my cousin Rebecca made these. Mockingbird Artist. I'm going to put her Instagram in the description. Go follow her. She has an Etsy store. She makes Taylor Swift art. She makes Disney art. She makes Florida art. She's amazing. I'm so grateful that she made these for us. They have really made the video like extra special. So Mockingbird Artist on Instagram and Etsy. Her links are down below. Go follow her. Go support her. She's amazing and she deserves all of the credit for this cool stuff you've been seeing throughout the whole conversation. So that's my quick commercial. I'm done. Thank you, Rebecca. They're amazing. I love them. So that moment from Miss Americana is obviously like so interesting because she made an amazing album and she didn't get nominated. Yeah. And like, it was almost like a fit of like,
okay, well, I mean, Suz ranked it as number 9. So.
Wait, oh no,
Lover, right? Lover is.
No, we're talking about Reputation. Reputation is the one that you're talking about in Miss Americana.
Oh, where she didn't get in, she had to. Yes, you're right. You're
right. But to her credit, she did not let it become a destructive thing. Mm-hmm. She went out and found who it was that was going to make her better, and I think that is why. From all the research I've done on her and everything that I've listened to and read, that is why she is so successful, because some artists find someone they like working with and they make a hit album, and then they just work with them for the next 6 albums and it all becomes the same sound. And especially with Evermore, which is why Mareena's theory holds water. Evermore is her and the boys just trying stuff. And it works.
I mean, it works a lot. Renegade and Evermore, like we can't, but we might, because it's basically an Evermore song.
I mean, if she was going to release Renegade Taylor's version, which she won't have to, or Evermore Taylor's version, Renegade would be on it. Like, and for me, it's really hard because during the pandemic, I would just get home from work at 4:30. I would put my headphones on and I would take a 3-mile walk and listen to Folklore, because that one came out like halfway through the lockdown.
Yeah, like Folklore.
But
It was what I feel like everyone needed.
But when Evermore came out, I put them in a playlist where it starts with the one and then Willow and then it goes every other. And I really have a hard time keeping them apart now, because they just sound like one cohesive double-sided album.
Whoa.
But
I will say, of all her albums, they're definitely the most cohesive.
But Evermore is different. If you listen to Folklore by itself and you listen to Evermore, there are significant differences. And when that double-sided playlist plays, you can tell when it's a Folklore song and an Evermore song, vice versa, because the sounds are just different enough. So
I just feel like Taylor is an evolving, improving person, and I think it also speaks to my personality. Well, I will say I'm an Enneagram 3, and the internet says that Taylor Swift is also an Enneagram 3, and it's this idea of like needing to achieve the next thing. And so I feel like, however you rank them, like she is constantly trying to improve her sound, improve her singing, improve like how the album feels and like who she's speaking to, and like you said, like pulling in other people. It's this idea of constant improvement. And whether you would rank them, I think that like Taylor would say like, yeah, I want to be more proud of the most recent thing I put out than I am of anything else I put out.
I have a question for you guys. My friend Christine, I told her, she's a Swiftie, huge Swiftie. She actually posted from her memories 3 years ago. I think she was also at the Atlanta Reputation Stadium tour. So anyway, just to give you some background on Christine, but I told her that I was going to be talking to you guys, and she was so excited, and she's like, that's awesome. You're going to talk about Taylor Swift. But she asked me, you know, in Miss Americana, Taylor Swift says, if you're a female artist, I think, and you're approaching your 30s, the thing that we do is we have to constantly like reinvent ourselves and like find new facets of ourselves that we find fascinating and shiny for people to like us. Would you agree that that's what she has been doing? Or would you say, I don't know, like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, to me and Christine, like, we both feel like she has been like putting like new facets of herself out there, but we wouldn't necessarily say that she's been like reinventing herself every time. Like, to us, there's just like Taylor Swift. I don't know. What do you guys think?
That's a really good question. I think there's some level to, once we hear Taylor Swift, we have this idea of like what she's going to give us. And in some ways, like we get what we expect. Like she gives us what we thought she would, which is a great album with great lyrics and like fun hooks and like good bridges. But I do wonder if maybe in the music industry, like we get to listen to such a wide array of music that in some ways, like it's music, it's like pop, right? Like we're not understanding like the nitty gritty differences of things. But I think in some ways she is really reinventing herself. And when you see like other artists that are like, I can't believe that Taylor wrote this song. Like I remember Ryan Hurd, who is Maren Morris's husband, posted about False God. And he's like, I can't believe that I didn't write this song, because like it's just like it's that good, and like I wish that I had written this. And like the way she's speaking to other people in the music industry, I think could be more of the idea of reinventing. But I truly get what you're saying, where like in some ways it's like it's Taylor, like she has cats and she writes music and she just vibes. But I do think maybe in the music industry, they understand when she's stretching herself more. There's something about the music behind her, the way she's like phrasing her words. You know, I just think we're maybe not attuned to it enough in the music industry, if that makes sense.
So I would say that I don't know that she's necessarily reinventing herself. I think she is refining what she is already amazingly good at, because the thing for Folklore for me is that every one of those songs could fit on another album. Like if you heard August somewhere in the Lover track, you'd be like, yeah, this is a Lover song. If you heard Epiphany in debut Taylor's voice, some epiphany, like that young 16-year-old.
Was that young Taylor?
I wasn't trying to make fun of her. I was just saying like that part where she goes epiphany. If you heard Betty on Fearless or Speak Now, back when she was still country, if you heard This Is Me Trying on 1989, or even if you heard Cardigan on Reputation, like just think about the beginning of Cardigan, vintage tea, like that's like a Reputation vibe. So what I'll say to Christine's amazing question is, I think that she knows what she's good at, and she took Folklore to prove it to us, and then she took Evermore to try something new. And because Evermore, I don't hear those songs and think of other Taylor albums. I think of, oh, wow, this is Taylor's kind of indie record that is actually cooler than any of the other ones that we've ever heard before. I don't know if that answers your question or Christine's question, but that's my opinion of at least her last two albums and what she did during quarantine, why she did that.
Yeah, but like tell Christina to like and subscribe to our
I will.
YouTube channel.
I will. No, she was asking me like where this is gonna be when we're done. Like she wanted to tune in.
But yeah, speaking of when we're done, we're not done yet, because Mareena, what are you looking forward to with the re-recordings coming out? What are you looking forward to? And then we'll talk about like what we want to see from her, what we're predicting she'll do.
Well, I loved Fearless for sure, and Red will be like a journey, but we talked about this, David. I was really pumped for the like conspiracy theories that thought that she was going to drop 1989, because I was really ready for my 1989 era, and you so aptly pointed out that I'm always in my 1989 era because I'm young, single, and free, living downtown. live my best life. So I do kind of feel like I'm in my 1989. I think Speak Now is probably gonna like wreck me. It's like just listening to those re-recorded, like Haunted. We've talked about Long Live quite a bit. Like I sent you, David, that mashup of Dear John and Traitor by Olivia.
Yes.
And it is insane. So good. And so I'm wondering if she would have some like different features on that album that are more like younger artists to speak to like the time of life that she was in when she recorded Speak Now, because I feel like Speak Now is very like much that like Olivia Rodrigo era. So I'm most excited about Speak Now as far as the re-records. I will say All Too Well has probably been getting a little too much to where now I feel like a little icky about loving it, but like All Too Well is a classic. Like Call Me Up Again, Just to Bring Me Like a Promise, So Casually Cruel, In the Name of Being Honest, I'm a Couple Up, Piece of Paper, like those are amazing lyrics. Like you just like can't deny it. And then what is the song that is talking about The Moment I Knew? I love to make fun of it, but it's a great song. But when she talks about like how she's standing there crying while everyone's singing happy birthday to her, like, what an amazing moment.
Yes.
Oh, so good. So anyways, I actually like the acoustic version of State of Grace that is on the deluxe version is one of my top songs of all time with Taylor Swift. So like lots of things to look forward to, but I do think Speak Now will be
my
most favorite.
So I'm a little hesitant about 1989 because I loved it so much. I'm a little afraid, that's all. But
you're nostalgic. It's okay.
I'm nostalgic. Because like the way that she sings in 1989 is just so unique. And I know that her vocal cords are like we've talked about, they're older now, so she might sing them just slightly differently. So I'm a little scared, but again, Taylor, if you're watching this, it's okay. I know that you've got something good planned for 1989. I can't wait for those vault songs. Like, what? I would love to live in that era again. I guess because I became a Swiftie like at the end of the Red era, I didn't, like what I talked about again, I didn't get to like be there for her earlier albums. So I'm really excited to experience them that way. Like I love Fearless now because I got to experience it. Um so now I think I'm most excited for Red because I came on the end of that one. I get to experience what it's like at the like to see it again. So I think I'm most excited about that one.
I too am looking forward to Speak Now, but I'm trying to get here. If the vault songs from Fearless were any indicator, there are some absolute lightning bolts coming with the rest of these albums, because like her unreleased songs, I was looking at what she has, like I Bet You Think About Me, Message in a Bottle, Run, and Better Man, and Babe are all coming out with this Red re-recording. I've heard most
Better
of those.
Man, I listened to for an 8-hour journey nonstop. Like I was driving in the car, not once did I skip it. I repeated it for 8 hours.
And
my gosh, I love it.
I have heard those other songs like through various means. Message in a Bottle, I Bet You Think About Me. They're so good just because, and they're not even like produced. They're just her like singing a demo over a guitar and a piano and a drum or something. But like the other songs that are out there, like Permanent Marker, there's a song called, Babe, obviously, Being With My Baby, she could do. Better Man by herself is coming out. Dark Blue Tennessee, Diary of Me, Firefly. There's another one. Where is it? There's a song she wrote called Tennessee, which I obviously love. Anything that has
Taylor Swift is always writing. Be writing.
But these are all of her unreleased songs that I have heard before that she could put on these albums. And so, I'm excited to hear Speak Now. I'm a little nervous just because I love it so much, but it's going to be great because Fearless was great. And I am excited.
When has Taylor Swift ever disappointed you?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And the nice thing is that she used to sing songs in the register that I can sing in. And then in 1989 in Red, she started singing way higher. And then Reputation, you can't really sing along to. You just have to shout it at the top of your lungs. And then and you do. And she started to come back down to where I can comfortably sing with her again in the car. So that's what I am most excited about, is hearing these songs. Maybe she's going to drop them a couple key steps on the piano so I can like
send her a Twitter message asking her to drop it a couple of keys.
Yeah, I'm sure she's going to check that.
Key.
I'm sure she's going to check that. So I have two things that I hope. I hope she writes a full-on novel. Even if she doesn't like put her name on it, she puts a pen name on it, because the story that we got with Folklore, I think I talked to you guys about this before, but like we were trying to put like, Suz, we talked about this, where we're trying to put the songs in like the order of how the story would go. Like, okay, so I think like, and I have, I'm looking at my Spotify here.
I've listened to it many times. It's a great list.
Did I share that list with you?
Yeah, you shared it with me, where you're like following a story through.
Yeah, it starts with August and then Mirrorball and then Betty and then This Is Me Trying. It kind of just like goes through, and it ends with Invisible String because it's a happy ending. And it saves The Last Great American Dynasty for like when you're just like anxious to hear it. I listened to the real album track list, and The Last Great American Dynasty is like the third song, and then you're done with it. And I'm like, I'm waiting to hear this. I want to hear this later. But I hope she writes a full-on novel and just like tells us the story that's in her head. She has to have stories in her head that can come out, because I think she's the type of person that wants to push herself to be better. And writing a song versus writing a novel is obviously a different process, but I think she could learn to do it. And then I also would really love to see her write everything Hamilton style for a musical. Like, I don't want just one song from Cats. Like, I love the song she wrote for Cats, and I love her version of it. Oh my word. But I would love to see her write an entire musical, even if it's someone else's story. I just love to see her put all the songs in there, because I feel like, once again, Folklore was a musical. Like, you could perform Folklore as a musical if you did the track list right and, just had different people singing it. So those are the two things that I am predicting she will do. What do you guys, do you have anything else?
I respect the level of like, just like thinking outside the box you have for Taylor, because
Yeah.
I'm really happy with her writing albums. So I'd be like, more albums, please.
So what I would ask then is, do you predict that she will do all the re-recordings first, or do you think she'll write another album in between? Because when you're making music, you are very inspired, even if you're remaking it.
I feel like even that's hard to say, because I guarantee you she's writing music right now.
Yeah.
Whether she's recording music right now, but now that she has her own studio, like, I don't know that there's any way. I think some people thought like after Evermore, this should be like done. And I was like, there's no way. Like,
No.
is a writer and she's a songwriter. And so like she'll continue to write songs. Like even in her eras where she was like between albums and staying undercover, she was still writing songs and just like secretly releasing them to other artists to like sing. And so I just don't think there's any world in which we like stop having content. At the same time, like I'm okay, because I constantly think about Taylor as a person and like wanting the best for her, like in her life and like mentally, like her creative process. And I want her to write when she's feeling inspired. And I think that's what we saw in like Folklore and Evermore, that she's like, hey, I was inspired and I made you these songs, and it didn't have to be super commercialized. It didn't have to be super intense, because like I was writing songs and I just wanted to give them to you. And that to me was like I felt so great about those albums. It was like such a surprise and such a fun thing to say, like, oh my gosh, like Taylor's feeling creative and she gave us an album. And so I'm sure that in the future, she'll be much more like, she's a great businesswoman. Like she will give us albums and she will make money and she will do great things and like figure out a way to make me buy more merch. And I will happily give her like as much of my money as she requests. But like, I want her to do it in a way where she's writing because she's feeling inspired, not because she feels like she has to do the next thing. And I do think she's proved herself in that way. So she could try something like writing a musical, writing a novel, like whatever she decides she wants to do.
Oh yeah.
It's me just saying I want what's best for Taylor.
I
Suz,
love it.
Do you want what's best for Taylor? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
I'm
Is
just
that even
kidding.
a question? Gosh.
No, what do you think?
I think that she just discovered a great group of people to write with. And I think that they are far from done. Like they just like they just found each other, and they just happened to like write 2 albums that were amazing. And now she's like helping them write their own songs for their own albums. So I think she's just far from done. Like we're definitely going to hear more from Aaron Dessner, Justin Vernon, and the rest of the gang. Like they're definitely going to make another album. I don't know if she'll release it soon. I kind of feel like she, in her brain, she wants to finish all the re-recordings and she wants to promote them, and then she wants to release something new. I don't know. I just feel like that's how her, like she's always been very organized in her brain. And I think she wants to like get those done so that they're hers now, so that she can stand on them for the future. And then she wants to release something new. But I could be totally wrong. She could surprise us again, you know? She's always surprising us.
She is always surprising us. And I do think she does. She knows her fans and when they're running. But I guess she's recording enough vault songs that maybe that's enough to keep us happy. The Hungry Show.
I think maybe she'll do another documentary. I think her struggle with the music industry is not over. And I think she wants that struggle to be open. So I think if she does another documentary, I think it'll be about her story of how, like in the beginning, and how she struggles to own her art. Like I feel like that's a really good
prediction, because I could totally see some sort of like Rage Against the Big Machine type of album, like title for that. Like she'd come up with some sort of like, that's so good. I didn't even think about that.
like pulling in like younger artists that she's mentored.
Oh yeah.
And like talking about their journey at the same time. I think we'll see a lot more open collaboration from Taylor.
Yeah.
Also, there's
the cat.
I mean,
Yeah, and like I know like it's not over yet. Like she's still like and like the story of her re-recordings aren't over yet. Like how they're gonna do. And I just bet she's letting someone write about it or capture her feelings during this process. I don't know. Because she wants to share them.
yeah. It's good.
That's so cool. Awesome. All right. Well, that has been look at that, just about an hour. We talked about Taylor Swift for an hour and it felt like 10 minutes. So guys, thank you so much for coming on. And like I said, this might be episode 1 of 1, or it might be episode 1 of 100, who knows. But this was really fun. So thank you, Suz, and thank you, Mareena.
It was so much fun.
We'll be listening to Taylor Swift for the rest of the night.
Obviously.
Thank you so much for listening to this discussion about our favorite artist. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a like or a comment or subscribe. We'd love to have more conversations about this type of thing, whether it's her music videos or go album by album through our favorite songs, that sort of thing. Thank you for sticking around. If you've listened this far, comment which one of Taylor's cats is your favorite. I'm curious to know how many people made it through an hour of content. And I'd love to know if you have ideas for what you'd like to hear us talk about in the future. So leave me that as well. Anyways, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Whoa.
Is this the same? Oh, this isn't the same sheet you sent me one time.
No, I have multiple different Taylor Swift analysis sheets, but this was just trying to get all of the songs so that I could really objectively look at it and make sense.
This was so smart. Why didn't you like share this with us beforehand?
Oh, sorry. I didn't know that you guys were going to rank Reputation and Lover so low, but